So my dad asked me, "Are you ready to die for this?" Just 3 days before I was supposed to leave to live in Rwanda for a year, to serve as a volunteer through the ELCA's Young Adults in Global Mission program. I'd found out that week that I have an immune disorder. Not immediately life-threatening, and the doctor said that I could go to Rwanda, but recommended that I stay home in the US. Are you ready to die for this? I think one of the reasons that I haven't told a lot of people this story, until now clearly, is because for a long time I felt like maybe I should have been able to hop up and say that yes, I was ready to die for this. I was ready to follow God's call anywhere, but what I said was, I don't know. Full disclosure, I went to my room that night and spent most of the night ugly crying on my bedroom floor, confused about what to do and honestly pissed at God because it felt like my own body was betraying me. But I woke up in the morning with a response. I wasn't sure that it was an answer my dad would accept, but it was the only thing that felt like the truth. "Dad," I said, "I'm not ready to die for this, but I'm ready to live for this." We live in a world that asks us a lot, I think. What would you sacrifice for? What would you die for? And those are good questions. They're just not the only question. And it took until a conversation with my dad about young adults in global mission for me to realize that when I'm discerning my call, maybe it is important for me to ask, what would I die for? But maybe it's just as important for me to ask, what gives me joy? What am I living for? And when I started asking those questions, I realized that young adult communities in this church, communities you get to be a part of so soon, had been helping me answer them for years. I found joy as a counselor at Lutheran Summer Camp. I found life in campus ministry, and I found both again as a young adult in global mission alongside 80 other confused, hurt, doubtful, and hopeful young people. So I left, and I found new joy and new life every morning in Rwanda. And I think that these stories can sound kind of sparkly when we tell them now. And I wish that I could tell you that living for that joy is always easy, but you know that it's not. You've heard that over and over again this week. I mean, for some of us, it involves ugly crying on the floor because the decisions are hard, but it's more than that. Seeking joy can feel impossible in a world that is so messed up. In a world and in a church still steeped in racism, in a world where institutions are still propped up by the evil of white supremacy, in a world where immune disorders exist, in a world where people use the Bible as a weapon to defend discriminating against their neighbors because of who they love, how they worship, or what side of a border they were born on. In a world and in a country where it feels like the fighting might never stop. Seeking joy does not mean ignoring the world's deepest pain. And that's why I love this gathering. That's why I love Yagam and why I love my dad. None of them have let me sit in my privilege and pretend that hard realities don't exist. They ask me hard questions and help me find life in the answers. I hope going home you have communities like that. I hope you have communities to ask you tough questions, and even if not, I'm starting today, I'm asking you now. What are you living for? If that question feels too big, let's start here. What in this gathering has made your heart spark and burn? What has given you joy? Has it been singing or dancing? Has it been serving alongside your neighbors here in Houston? Has it been meeting new people, hearing messages of peace and justice powerfully preached from the stage, or just spending quiet time with friends and with God? Whatever has given you life this week, my hope for you as you go home is that you lean into that you listen to God calling you through that, and follow the call even when it's scary, because sometimes it will be, and that's why God's call to new life for all people is so radical. Our life, our joy in the face of fear is brave. Our joy is resistance against the deepest darkness this world has to offer, including death. Our joy is a part of being the change, but it is just one part. We, gathered here, are just one part of this massive and eternal body of Christ. And almost impossibly, it's already time for us to leave each other. But that's good. Because if our joy is only for this place, if our joy is only for us, then it is not God's joy. God's joy is for everyone. It is. And so for us as the church, that means that there is hard, world-shaking, chain-breaking, joy-seeking, everything-changing gospel work to do, and it is out that door. And it needs the new life and the hard questions that I know you are about to bring to it. So I just have one more question for you this morning. Similar, different than the one that my dad asked me almost exactly 3 years ago. Friends, are you ready? Are you ready to live for this?